If you think memes are funny and interesting, but you find nursery rhymes childish and ridiculous, you are stupid. I'm going to explain why. There was a man so wise. He jumped into a bramble bush and scratched out both his eyes. And when he saw his eyes were out and reasoned to complain, he jumped into a quickset hedge and scratched them in again. There was a man so wise. He jumped into a bramble bush and scratched out both his eyes. Who does that sound like? Symbolically. We can immediately connect it to one of the primary significant myths of psychoanalysis, which is Oedipus. Oedipus, upon gleaning the absolute truth of his life, blinds himself with needles. This is the nature of unconscious wisdom. It is so terrible that it leads us to blind ourselves in fear, in terror. And of course, we find the same situation sort of in King Lear. And in general, we have blind seers, the blind wise, like Homer, like Tiresias, who know much, though they see nothing. And to scratch them in again, this is sort of the joke. So nursery rhymes are very interesting in that we take a tragic or a mythic motif, and just like in fairy tales, we tend to make it silly. We add the silliness. So the man's so wise that he scratches out both his eyes. Not very silly, not very funny. But once he scratches them in again, something impossible, then we get to why this is a nursery rhyme, why this is the thing for children. Let's keep going. This is another classic. Little boy blue, come blow your horn. The cow's in the meadow, the sheep in the corn. But where's the little boy tending the sheep? He's under the haycock, fast asleep. Will you wake him? No, not I, for if I do, he's sure to cry. This is, of course, one of the great religious motifs, that of the sleeping god, of the sleeping king, which we see in fairy tales, in Rip Van Winkle. We see King Arthur asleep. And of course, we have Christ and the awaiting of the second coming. And there's a fear. Will you wake him? No, not I, for if I do, he's sure to cry. This is a motif that's very prominent in the King Arthur legends. King Arthur sleeping under the hill has often been visited by wanderers and men who were brought there by people like Merlin and so on. And they are always warned, don't wake Arthur. Don't wake Arthur unless you think you can, unless you're willing to. And I forget whose poetry, but I will find it. It'll be in the side. There's a sense of shame that he is not prepared to wake Arthur to save England. For Arthur is to come in the time of England's greatest need, which has been always, of course. England is always falling and always ready for Arthur, just as America is always ready for Rip Van Winkle. And the Christians are always ready for Christ. But he's still asleep. They're all still sleeping. Jack Sprat, he ate no fat, and his wife ate no lean. And so betwixt them both, they licked the platter clean. Is this not a perfect illustration of the ideal Jungian relationship between a man whose anima is perfectly embodied in the wife? Jack Sprat, he ate no fat. This is his blind spot. This is where he is not conscious. And his wife eats no lean. They both complete the other. There is a blind spot for both of them. Neither of them are going to be able to finish this steak, one or the other. But together, they become whole. They complete themselves. I think this is one of the most beautiful and romantic of the nursery rhymes. It sounds silly, but it really strikes me. Now, this is a very simple wisdom, perhaps the essential Socratic wisdom. When I was a little boy, I had but little wit. 'Tis a long time ago, and I have no more yet. nor ever shall, until that I die, for the longer I live, the more fool am I. We never learn. Our whole lives, we never learn. When you know this as a child, you are ready for a life of adventure, a life of journeying, of excitement, of beauty and romance. When you imagine life to be a progression toward knowledge, you are ultimately denying yourself of life, the thing that really matters. Now, this is one I really love. I have a great love for. I know it's been used in horror films quite a bit, sadly. It's a scary one, but I really don't think it is. There was a crooked man, and he walked a crooked mile. He found a crooked sixpence against a crooked stile. He bought a crooked cat, which caught a crooked mouse, and they all lived together in a crooked little house. That one I'm not going to explain the meaning of. I just like it. The gender discourse that you engage in, when you are thinking about women being wretched, evil whores, and men being disgusting, lying cheaters and man whores, all we need to do is look back to the nursery rhymes and see that literally nothing has changed in centuries, likely ever. What are little boys made of? What are little boys made of? Frogs and snails and puppy dogs' tails. That's what little boys are made of. What are little girls made of? What are little girls made of? Sugar and spice and all that's nice. That's what little girls are made of. What are young men made of? What are young men made of? Sighs and leers and crocodile tears. That's what young men are made of. What are young women made of? What are young women made of? Ribbons and laces and sweet pretty faces. That's what young women are made of. What are old women made of? What are old women made of? Bushes and thorns and old cows' horns. That's what old women are made of. What are sailors made of? What are sailors made of? Pitch and tar, pigtail and scar. That's what sailors are made of. What are soldiers made of? What are soldiers made of? Pipe, clay, and drill, the foemen to kill. That's what our soldiers are made of. The country people of England used to say that the blackest month of all the year is the month of Janvier. Is this not a perfect echo of perhaps one of the most significant and profound opening lines in all of poetry from T.S. Eliot's The Waste Land? April is the cruelest month, breeding. It's beautiful. And I think it undoubtedly arises from this saying. We even have the solidification of old, very likely very old, magical rituals and spells in the form of nursery rhymes. For this is the way you make something very complex and reduce it to a mimetic form, a little rhyme that children can remember. Luna, every woman's friend, to me thy goodness condescend. Let this night in vision see emblems of my destiny. It sounds silly, but this really matters to children. And it works for children. Nursery rhymes matter, just like memes matter, really. Well, this book, which is one of my very favorites, is a collection of so many nursery rhymes that a good amount of them are almost inconceivable at this point. They talk about things we totally don't understand, but others are truly eternal, profound, and will be sung to children forever. And I find it really beautiful that it is reflected in one of the rhymes. No, no, my melodies will never die, while nurses sing and babies cry. And this is the very same with memes, for there are some memes that have struck at the eternal nerves. They have struck true depth, while others, like in this, are far too topical, too modern, too of their time to have any meaningful impact on the future. But the big memes, like the big nursery rhymes, will last forever. They will always be remembered, as they touched the true depth within us. So, I hope I've made a good case for why nursery rhymes function like ancient memes, silly things that hold deep antique truths, and made a case for why nursery rhymes matter, because you already know that memes matter.